What if I told you the hospital you trust with your life isn't designed to save you anymore? It's designed to pay off a loan you never signed up for. This is the hidden reality of private equity in healthcare, a system extracting wealth from the sick. From bare supply shelves in Boston to crumbling infrastructure in Florida, the signs are everywhere. While patients wait hours for care, executives are sailing on yachts bought with hospital revenue. They call it efficiency. The statistics show it's actually a matter of life and death. Hospital closures, staffing cuts, and rising mortality rates. This is the cost of doing business. Private equity firms are buying up your local institutions and stripping them for parts. But the cracks are forming. Regulators are watching, and communities are fighting back. I'm going to show you exactly how the trap works and why your hospital might be next. It's time to uncover the truth about patient outcomes and corporate greed. Don't let them operate in the shadows. Knowledge is your only defense. Watch the full investigation now. This story affects us all.
You walk into a hospital. You trust it with your life, literally. You believe the doctors have what they need. You believe the lights will stay on. You believe that when your heart stops, someone will be there with the tools to restart it. But what if I told you that while you were lying on that table, bleeding out, the device that could save you was sitting in a repo truck outside, repossessed because a hedge fund in New York decided your hospital wasn't profitable enough this quarter? You'd think I was making this up, right? You'd think this was some dystopian Netflix series, but this is real. This happened, and it's happening right now, in your town, maybe even at the hospital where you were born. Let me take you to Boston, St. Elizabeth's Medical Center. A woman gives birth. Complications arise. She's hemorrhaging. The doctors know exactly what to do. They need an embolization coil, a small medical device that stops internal bleeding. They sprint to the supply room. The shelf is bare, not because another patient used it, not because of a shipping delay, because it was repossessed. The hospital hadn't paid its bills. That woman died. She died because Wall Street needed its cut. Now picture this. Another hospital, this time in Florida, owned by the same company. The ceilings are caving in. Sewage is dripping down the walls, and 5,000 bats, yes, bats, have taken over the building. Patients are still being treated there. Nurses are dodging bat droppings while trying to save lives. This isn't a horror movie. This is modern American healthcare under private equity ownership. You've probably never heard the term private equity in relation to your local hospital. That's by design. These firms operate in the shadows, buying up struggling hospitals, strip mining them for profit, and walking away with millions while communities are left with closures, debt, and death. They don't want you to know their names. They don't want you to connect the dots. But here's the thing, you already know something is wrong. You've felt it. Maybe your local ER wait time tripled. Maybe your favorite nurse quit. Maybe your mom's surgery got delayed because the hospital is understaffed. You've seen the signs. You just didn't know who was pulling the strings. What you're about to discover will change the way you see every hospital in America. Because this isn't just happening in Boston or Florida. It's a system, a calculated financial strategy designed to extract wealth from the one thing we all need to survive, healthcare. And by the end of this, you'll see exactly how your hospital was turned into a cash machine, and what that means the next time you or someone you love walks through those doors. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something. If this story shook you, if it made you think twice about the hospital down the street, hit that like button right now. Not for me, but because this message needs to reach people before it's too late. These companies spend millions to stay invisible. Your click is how we break through that wall. And if you want to keep seeing investigations like this, subscribe. Because the algorithm doesn't care about truth, it cares about numbers. Your subscription tells YouTube this matters. Now drop a comment. Have you noticed your local hospital cutting staff, closing units, or just falling apart? Type yes if you've seen it. No if you think your hospital is still safe. Let's map this out together. Now let me take you back, because understanding how we got here is the only way to see where this is heading. For most of the 20th century, hospitals in America weren't designed to make anyone rich. They were community anchors, non-profits, places where the mission was simple: heal people, serve the neighborhood, keep the doors open. Sure, they had to balance budgets, but profit wasn't the point. Then something shifted, quietly at first, then all at once. Starting in the early 2000s and exploding between 2010 and 2020, a new kind of player entered the healthcare arena: private equity. These aren't hospital administrators. They're not doctors. They're financial engineers managing billions of dollars for wealthy investors who want one thing: a fast return. They don't want to run a hospital for 30 years. They want to flip it in 3 to 7 and walk away richer. And they found a way to do it that's so clever, so destructive, and so invisible that most people never see it coming until it's too late. Here's the move. It's called a leveraged buyout, or LBO. Think about buying a house. You put down maybe 20%, take out a mortgage, and you pay it back over time with your own money. Makes sense, right? Now imagine this. A private equity firm wants to buy a hospital system worth $500 million. But instead of using their own money, they borrow almost all of it. Let's say $450 million. They only put in $50 million themselves. Now here's the trick, the part that changes everything. The firm doesn't pay back that loan. The hospital does. The hospital they just bought is now responsible for the debt used to buy itself. Let that sink in. A healthy hospital, serving its community, suddenly wakes up owing hundreds of millions of dollars it never borrowed, for a deal it never made. Every dollar that used to go toward hiring nurses, updating equipment, stocking supplies, now goes to paying interest on Wall Street's loan. This is what I call moment zero. The second that debt hits the hospital's books, the mission changes. It's no longer about patient care, it's about debt service. And once that clock starts ticking, almost no hospital survives. But it gets worse. Because the debt is just the beginning. These firms don't stop there. They start cutting. Staffing, cut it. Supplies, order less. Maintenance, defer it. They sell off the hospital's most valuable assets, sometimes even the land the building sits on, and then lease it back to the hospital at inflated rates. It's called a sale-leaseback, and it's financial alchemy. The private equity firm pockets tens of millions immediately, while the hospital is now renting the ground it's been standing on for decades. Rent it can't afford. All of this is perfectly legal. All of this is happening right now. And the people making these decisions? They're not in the hospital. They're in boardrooms in New York, Miami, and San Francisco, staring at spreadsheets where your life is just a line item. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because what happens next is where the system becomes truly predatory. These firms don't just bleed hospitals dry and walk away. They set up a structure where they win no matter what. If the hospital succeeds and starts generating cash, the private equity firm takes it as management fees and consulting fees. If the hospital fails and goes bankrupt, the firm has already extracted its profit through those asset sales and debt maneuvers. Either way, they walk away richer. The hospital? It closes. The community? It loses its only ER. And the patients? They're left driving 40 minutes to the next town, hoping they don't bleed out in the back seat. This isn't capitalism. This isn't even healthcare. It's extraction, pure and simple. And it's funded by pension funds, university endowments, and maybe even your own retirement account without you ever knowing. You might be funding the destruction of your own local hospital and not even realize it. If this is making your blood boil, if you're starting to see your own town in this story, drop a comment right now. Just type, "I see it." Let me know you're connecting the dots with me. Now I want to go even deeper into this because what I'm about to show you is where the psychology of the trap really kicks in. You might be wondering, how do these firms extract so much cash so fast? How do they turn a functioning hospital into a financial carcass in just a few years? The answer is a move so brilliant and so ruthless that once you see it, you'll never look at a hospital the same way again. It's called the sale leaseback, and this is the trap that ensures the hospital never escapes. Let me walk you through exactly how this works, using a real example. When the private equity firm Cerberus, yes, named after the three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell, bought Steward Healthcare, they immediately did something that seemed insane on the surface. They sold the hospital's real estate, the actual buildings, the land beneath them, everything the hospital had owned, sometimes for decades, sometimes for over a century. They sold it all to a real estate investment trust, a REIT, called Medical Properties Trust for $1.25 billion. That's billion with a B. Now you might think, okay, that's a huge payday. Surely that money went into upgrading equipment, hiring staff, improving patient care, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Most of that money went straight into the pockets of Cerberus and its investors as dividends and management fees. Meanwhile, the hospitals, these institutions that used to own their own buildings outright, with no rent, no landlord, no overhead beyond utilities and maintenance, were now forced to pay millions of dollars every single month in rent to Medical Properties Trust. Rent on buildings they used to own. Rent that never ends. Rent that climbs every year. Think about that for a second. Imagine you own your house free and clear. No mortgage. It's yours. Then someone convinces you to sell it to a landlord, take the cash, blow it all on a vacation or a bad investment, and then sign a lease to rent your own house back, forever. And not just any rent. Rent so high that you can barely afford groceries. And if you miss a single payment, you're evicted. That's not a business strategy. That's a hostage situation. And that's exactly what happened to these hospitals. This is what financial experts call asset stripping. It's the deliberate extraction of value from an institution, leaving behind a hollowed-out shell that's structurally incapable of surviving. The hospital is no longer a hospital. It's a revenue stream. And every dollar that comes in the door, whether from Medicare, Medicaid, insurance companies, or patients paying out of pocket, has to go toward rent first, debt service second, and patient care a distant third. Now here's where the psychology gets truly dark. Once a hospital is trapped in this cycle, it becomes desperate. Desperate institutions make desperate decisions. They start cutting corners. They lay off experienced nurses and replace them with cheaper, less trained staff. They stop ordering backup supplies. They defer maintenance on critical systems, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. They close entire wings of the building to save money. And every one of these decisions makes the hospital more fragile, more dangerous, and more likely to fail. But here's the twist. The private equity firm and the REIT don't care if the hospital fails. In fact, they've already won. They extracted their profit up front through the sale leaseback. If the hospital goes bankrupt, the REIT gets to repossess the real estate and sell it to a developer. The land gets turned into luxury condos or a shopping center. And the private equity firm? They've already moved on to the next deal. They're not in the business of healthcare. They're in the business of extraction. And they've engineered a system where they profit whether the hospital lives or dies. From the moment that sale goes through, every heartbeat in that building, every surgery, every birth, every emergency room visit depends on paying rent first. Not on saving lives. On paying rent. This is the hidden truth most people never see. It's not just greed. It's not just mismanagement. It's a designed system of financial entrapment that guarantees the people at the top win, while the people on the ground, patients, nurses, doctors, entire communities, lose everything. And the scariest part? This model is spreading. It's not just Steward. It's happening at hospitals across the country. Rural hospitals, urban hospitals, pediatric centers, nursing homes, psychiatric facilities. Anywhere there's real estate and a steady flow of insurance payments, private equity sees an opportunity, and they're moving fast. If you're starting to feel the weight of this, if this is landing differently than you expected, type in the comments, "This is real." Let me know you're seeing what I'm seeing. Now I want to show you what this actually costs. Not in dollars, not in quarterly earnings, in lives. Because when you force a hospital to choose between paying rent to a billionaire in New York or hiring enough nurses to keep people safe, the decision has already been made for them. The biggest expense on any hospital's budget is staffing. Nurses, technicians, support staff, the people who actually keep patients alive. So when a private equity firm loads a hospital with debt and rent payments it can't afford, the first thing they cut is people. Not executives, not consultants, not the landlords collecting rent. They cut the nurses, they cut the cleaning staff, they cut the maintenance workers. And what happens when you do that? People die. Let me give you the numbers because this isn't speculation. This is peer-reviewed science. A 2023 study, published in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, one of the most respected medical journals in the world, found that adverse events in hospitals acquired by private equity firms jumped by 25%. Let me say that again. A 25% increase in things going wrong. We're talking about patient falls increasing by 27%. Central line infections. These are infections from IV lines that can turn septic and kill you, up 38%. And in nursing homes owned by private equity firms, mortality rates increased by 10%. That means 1 in 10 additional patients died who wouldn't have if the facility had remained independent. These aren't abstract failures. These are grandmothers who fell and broke their hips because there weren't enough nurses to check on them. These are cancer patients who got infections because the hospital couldn't afford proper sanitation protocols. These are people who walked into a building trusting it to heal them and never walked out. And it's not just clinical care that collapses. It's everything. Remember those 5,000 bats I mentioned earlier? That was Rockledge Regional Medical Center in Florida, owned by Steward Healthcare. The hospital stopped paying its pest control company. The company sued. Meanwhile, the maintenance staff was slashed from 15 people down to 2. 2 people trying to maintain an entire hospital. Elevators started breaking down. Patients had to be carried upstairs. Sewage pipes burst, and waste started leaking through the ceilings and walls. Nurses were treating patients in rooms that smelled like a sewer. And the bats? They nested in the air ducts, the ceilings, the storage rooms. Staff had to dodge bat droppings while trying to save lives. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. This actually happened. In the United States of America. In 2024. Now imagine you're a nurse in that hospital. You went into healthcare because you wanted to help people. You studied for years. You took an oath. And now you're working in a building that's literally falling apart around you, with half the staff you need, supplies running out, and executives in another state telling you to do more with less. How long do you stay? How long before you burn out and quit? And when you quit, who replaces you? Maybe a travel nurse making 3 times your salary because the hospital can't retain staff. Or maybe no one. Maybe that position just stays empty. And the patients? They wait longer. They get sicker. They die. This is the transformation that happens when you treat a hospital like a financial instrument instead of a public good. The mentality shifts, the mission dies, and the people who suffer are the ones who can't afford to go anywhere else. But here's the part that really gets me. The people making these decisions, the executives at Cerberus, at KKR, at Blackstone, at all these firms, they don't use these hospitals. They have concierge doctors. They fly to the Mayo Clinic. They get the best care money can buy. They will never experience the consequences of their own decisions. They've insulated themselves from the impact. And that's the ultimate revelation here. The system is designed so that the people profiting from the destruction never have to witness it. They never have to look a patient in the eye and explain why the life-saving device was repossessed. They never have to tell a family that their loved one died because there weren't enough nurses on the floor. They just collect the check and move on. If this is hitting you hard, if you're starting to see the full picture of what's been taken from us, drop a comment and just say, "I understand now." Now I want to show you exactly where the money went, because while patients were falling out of beds, while nurses were quitting in tears, while sewage was dripping down hospital walls, the people at the top weren't just doing fine. They were getting obscenely, almost cartoonishly rich. Let's start with Cerberus Capital Management, the private equity firm that owned Steward Healthcare. They walked away with $800 million in profit, not revenue, profit. Meanwhile, the hospitals they left behind were drowning in debt, closing emergency rooms and filing for bankruptcy. But Cerberus? They cashed out years earlier, and moved on to the next deal. They won. The patients lost. And the most infuriating part? The guy running the whole operation, the CEO of Steward Healthcare, Ralph De La Torre, bought himself a $40 million yacht. It's called the Amiral. While his hospitals couldn't afford basic medical supplies, while nurses were begging for backup ventilators, while patients were dying from infections that could have been prevented, this man was sailing the Mediterranean on a yacht worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. But it gets even worse. Because the yacht isn't the crime, it's the symptom. The real crime is the structure that made it possible. And that structure has a name: dividend recapitalization. Here's how it works. After the private equity firm buys the hospital and loads it with debt, they wait a year or two. Then they force the hospital to take out another loan. Not to buy new equipment, not to hire more staff, not to fix the leaking pipes or replace the broken elevators. They take out the loan specifically to pay a giant cash bonus to the private equity owners. It's a wealth transfer, plain and simple. Money flows from sick people, from overworked nurses, from struggling communities, straight into the pockets of billionaires who will never set foot in those hospitals. And the hospital? It's now even deeper in debt, even more fragile, even closer to collapse. But the executives don't care. They've already extracted their money. And here's the most insidious part of this whole scheme: the way they insulate themselves from consequences. When Steward Healthcare finally filed for bankruptcy in 2024, it left behind billions of dollars in unpaid debts. Suppliers weren't paid. Employees lost their pensions. Communities lost their hospitals. But Cerberus, they had already exited. They sold their stake years earlier, took their profit, and disappeared into the shadows. Ralph De La Torre? He walked away with millions in severance. The people who designed this disaster, who executed this plan, who profited from the destruction, none of them faced any real consequences. Meanwhile, the people who trusted those hospitals, who worked in those hospitals, who depended on those hospitals, they're the ones left holding the bag. This is a structure designed to protect the looters and punish the looted. It's not a bug, it's the feature. Now think about what this means on a human level. While you were sitting in an emergency room for 8 hours because there weren't enough doctors on shift, Ralph De La Torre was hosting champagne parties on a yacht that cost more than your entire neighborhood. While a mother was losing her baby because the hospital didn't have the right equipment in stock, a private equity executive was buying a second vacation home in Aspen. The disconnect isn't just financial, it's moral. It's a complete severance from the reality that most people live in. And the reason they can do this, the reason they sleep at night, is because they've built layers of corporate structures, shell companies, and legal protections between themselves and the suffering they cause. They never have to see it. They never have to feel it. They never have to answer for it. And here's the part that should terrify you. This model is spreading. It's not just hospitals. Private equity firms are now buying up veterinary clinics, dental practices, autism therapy centers, addiction treatment facilities, anywhere there's a vulnerable population and a steady revenue stream. They're using the exact same playbook: leveraged buyouts, sale leasebacks, dividend recaps, asset stripping, and every time the people at the top walk away richer while the people on the ground are left worse off. It's a machine, and it's running at full speed. If you're feeling the weight of how broken this is, if you're seeing the pattern for the first time, type in the comments, "Follow the money." Now, I want to show you something that might surprise you. Because after everything I've just told you, you'd be forgiven for thinking this is hopeless, that the machine is too big, too powerful, too entrenched to ever stop. But here's the truth. For the first time in years, these firms are nervous. Cracks are starting to form. Regulators are waking up. States are pushing back. And people, nurses, patients, families, entire communities, are starting to fight back. The game isn't over yet. And the rules? They're finally starting to change. Let's start at the federal level. The Federal Trade Commission, led by Lina Khan, has started going after private equity firms with a level of aggression we haven't seen in decades. They're not just fining them, they're suing them, blocking their deals, forcing them to unwind mergers. In Texas, the FTC filed a lawsuit against a private equity firm that used what's called a roll-up scheme in anesthesiology. Basically, they bought up every anesthesiology practice in a region, created a monopoly, and then jacked up prices because patients had no other choice. The FTC said no, this is illegal, and they're fighting it in court. This is significant because for years, these firms operated in total darkness. No one was watching. No one was asking questions. But now, there's a spotlight. And under that light, the entire model starts to fall apart. At the state level, things are moving even faster. Massachusetts passed a law requiring any private equity firm that wants to buy a hospital to disclose the deal publicly and prove that it won't harm patient care. Indiana went further. They're limiting sale-leaseback transactions entirely, making it illegal to sell a hospital's real estate and then rent it back at inflated rates. These might sound like small regulatory tweaks, but they're not. They're existential threats to the private equity playbook, because if you can't do leveraged buyouts in secret, if you can't strip assets and hide behind shell companies, if you actually have to prove that your deal won't kill people, suddenly the whole scheme stops being profitable. And when it stops being profitable, it stops happening. This is how you kill a business model. You don't appeal to their morality. You take away their ability to make money. But the most powerful resistance isn't coming from Washington or state capitals. It's coming from the ground. Nurses are walking out. Unions are organizing. Communities are suing. In Massachusetts, when Stewart tried to close a hospital, the state government stepped in, seized control, and kept it open. They said no. You don't get to extract hundreds of millions of dollars, leave the hospital in ruins, and walk away. We're taking it back. And they did. That hospital is still open today, now run by a non-profit. That's the kind of autonomy we need. The kind of decision-making that puts people over profit. And it's starting to happen more and more. Now here's what you can do. Because this isn't just about policy, it's about awareness. It's about knowing who owns your hospital before you need it. If you have a choice, and I know not everyone does, look it up. Go to your hospital's website. Find out who owns it. Is it a non-profit community hospital? Or is it owned by a firm like Apollo, KKR, Blackstone? Is the real estate owned by a REIT like Medical Properties Trust? If it is, you need to know that going in. You need to understand the risks. And if you have the ability to choose a different hospital, do it. Vote with your feet. Starve these firms of the one thing they need, patience. Because without patience, there's no revenue. And without revenue, the whole extraction model collapses. There's also legislation you can support. Bills like the Health Over Wealth Act, which would require private equity firms to set aside reserve funds to keep hospitals running even if the deal goes bad. It would force transparency. It would limit sale-leasebacks. It would put guardrails on an industry that's been operating without any for decades. These bills are being introduced in states across the country. Find out if your state has one. Call your representative. Make noise. Because the only reason this system has survived for so long is because most people didn't know it existed. But now you do. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The veil has been lifted. The bastidors have been exposed. And the people who built this system are terrified that you're finally paying attention. If you're ready to be part of this shift, if you're done being passive in a system designed to exploit you, comment and say, "I'm paying attention now." If you made it this far, you're not here by accident. You're here because something about this felt true. Because you've sensed for years that the system was broken, but you didn't have the language to describe it. Now you do. Private equity firms have built an empire on complexity. They rely on terms like leveraged buyouts, sale-leasebacks, and dividend recapitalizations to keep you confused, to keep you from connecting the dots. But you just connected them. You see the trap now. You see how a hospital gets turned into a cash machine. You see who profits and who pays. And once you see the system, you can never unsee it. If you believe healthcare should prioritize patients over yachts, over Wall Street bonuses, over quarterly earnings reports, drop a comment right now and say, "Patients first." Let me know you're standing with the people, not the profits. And if this video opened your eyes, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that this matters, that people care, and it helps us reach more communities before it's too late. Then, subscribe. Because this isn't the only system designed to extract wealth from you. Private equity is doing the exact same thing to housing, to your neighborhood, driving up rent and buying up homes you'll never be able to afford. I break down that playbook in the next video. Same tactics, different victim. Click it now and keep going with me. Let's pull back every curtain they've been hiding behind. I'll see you there.